Today our guest is Manz Simon.
Keep your weapon at your side,
The tech-savvy kind of approach the kids have to life has spilled over into other aspects.
strong. Pierce the darkness with the light as you go along. Living with one foot in heaven, breaking the enemy's power. In the strength of Jesus we can stand in the darkest hour. Living with one foot in heaven, ready when he calls our name. For believers to live is Christ, to die is only gain.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today our guest is Manz Simon. And Mary is, she's a children's development expert. What else are you?
Well, I'm a mom and a grandma, so those are the things that are really close to my heart. But I'm also an author. My books have sold more than 3 million copies in English.
Wow.
Just in the Christian Channel. They're in 10 languages. I have a radio show on 180 stations every day, and
Whoa.
lots and lots of church websites. And I do a lot of speaking. I generally have about 70 flights a year. So
Wow, you're a really frequent flyer.
I am. But it's great, because God opens doors that I couldn't even imagine might open. So it's exciting.
It is. Well, you're an expert on trends that impact children. And it's obvious to me, at least, that our culture is, and even some parts of the church, are pulling further and further away from God and from biblical faith. So what do you see as major contributors to this trend, and do you see, would you recommend something to parents to help combat that in their families?
Well, there are major shifts happening. One of them that really impacts parents and families on an everyday basis is what I call schedule creep. It's the blurring of the lines between home and work. And what happens is the parent brings work home in his pocket, in her cell phone, and is constantly aware of that work world. So we've ruined that line between work and family. Where does that stop? It's kind of been moved over, and I just call that schedule creep. And that's impacting all kinds of aspects of the daily schedule.
Yes.
Another thing that's really happened, and it's happening as we speak today, Jeanne, it's what I call the collaborative decision-making in the family. If you think about it, knowledge is power. That's a fact. We know that. But who has the knowledge today in the family? It's the child.
Yeah.
When something's wrong with the VCR, who's going to fix it? You look to the youngest, not the oldest. So as a result, that traditional pyramid with the parent at the top having all that say-so in the family, that has shifted down so that we have a child making a lot of the decisions. Because the tech-savvy kind of approach the kids have to life has spilled over into other aspects. So is it the parent or the child who decides where they're going to pick up for supper? Is it the parent or the child who decides where they're going to go on summer vacation? And is it the child or the parent who decides if they're going to go to church on Sunday? Wow. That whole collaborative decision-making. I mean, we want kids to grow up knowing how to make decisions. Should I wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? That's an appropriate decision. That's developmentally right for kids. But is it right that kids are making bigger decisions about where we're going to eat, where we're going to go to church, if we're going to go to church?
Wow, that is really insightful. I hadn't even thought about that.
Well, it's kind of a spillover. It's oozed out from the whole tech arena. But as we look at kids now, they're the digital kids. They're a digital generation. And this is the front end. This is not the back end of DigiKids. So we need to be really alert to what is happening and what's happening in the family scene.
So what can parents do to change that?
First of all, we have to recognize it. You said you hadn't noticed it?
No, I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, we have to take, and we can't all the time because we don't take a step back from what's happening. we have to look through another lens, because when we look through our lens of everyday life, we just try to keep up with what's happening today. But we really have to step back and say, okay, what's happening to my family? How am I going to make a difference? How am I going to change this? Because we really need to look at how we're going to change it. And then a parent really has to decide, this is what's important. Write it down on the calendar every month. You know, have a special goal for your family. What is it this month? Do you want to practice kindness more? Do you want to practice organization? Do you want to be more organized? When it's a family goal, see, that's the collaborative type of decision making that is wonderful and we want, because everybody works together for the common good. But some of these other things that are happening aren't so good. So those are a couple things I see, but I do see some trends that are great. One is the next gen dad. We have dads today who now really want to be involved in their kids' life, in every aspect of kids' life. And they will come home early from work sometimes. They will turn down promotions at work just so they can be involved with their kids.
That's wonderful.
That's
a good trend.
It is a great trend. The challenge is next-gen dads don't have models.
And would you define next-gen dads for people who don't know what that is?
It's my own definition. It's the dads who are who are raising young children right now. When you think about it, historically, dads have always had a very clear-cut model. Go to school, get a job, have a family. Mm-hmm. Now, that model is changing. You know, we have dads who are marrying later if they're married.
Yeah.
We have serial paternity, which is when a dad in his 40s, 50s, or 60s has a baby as a dad, but also has grandchildren the same age.
Wow.
So these are just some of the things that are happening, and the first step is being alert. The second step is, what are we going to do about it? And the third step is that accountability. Are we really going to make a change?
Wow.
Lots going on.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, we're all about biblical worldview, biblical faith here at heritageoftruth.com. So I'm wondering how people can incorporate their biblical faith into those kinds of decisions. Do you have some ideas on that?
I really believe it's our approach. What we've done in the past, and I'm a pastor's daughter, daughter-in-law, granddaughter, and wife.
Oh my goodness.
So I have a long heritage here. We get along real well. But what we need to do is make sure that Christianity becomes a lifestyle element. We've made tech a lifestyle element.
Yes, we have.
We're oozing with tech. We need to do the same thing and more with our Christian faith.
And how would you suggest doing that?
You can't just worship a jack-in-the-box Jesus who pops up on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. Christian principles have to be ingrained as part of our 24/7 lifestyle. And until we do that, we're going to have a problem integrating Christianity into everyday life. You know, it doesn't have to be big things. It can be when your child sees you take a plate of cookies next door to a sick neighbor. It can be when you offer to hold the door open for somebody who has groceries in their arms. Little things, but things that are enough, that are a reflection of who we are as Christian people. We have to prioritize a Christian lifestyle 24/7. And until we embrace that concept, we're going to have big challenges.
That is wonderful advice. Thank you. Now, I would like to know what your latest project is. You've had so many books.
I have.
But what do you have right now?
This is such a fun one. And this one really comes from my heart
Okay.
because my March to the Manger talks about a tradition that we've always had in our family. You know, as an early childhood educator, I always wanted my children to be really involved, like we're talking lifestyle Christianity here, in the whole Christmas thing, that it's Jesus' birthday, that Christ really is the center of Christmas. So what we did was we used a tradition of marching the manger figures through our house during the weeks before Christmas.
How fun.
It was fun, and it involved kids of all ages. I had 3 children in 3 years. So there was a time when I needed things that even my very young children could do. And they could certainly march Mary and the donkey and Joseph through the house to the different windowsills. And that's what my March to the Manger does. It talks about this trend in a very child-friendly way. And what I'm hoping is that other families will now embrace this tradition because it gets physically involved, those kids, into this tradition. Traditions are the glue that holds families together. And if we can have Christ-centered traditions like this, wow, we've got a great start toward really celebrating Jesus' birth.
Yes, we do. Well, that looks like a great book, and
The glitter won't come off on your fingers, I promise.
Oh, that's
and
good.
There's glitter throughout the book. I don't know how well it shows through the camera, but it's a really fun, child-friendly kind of book. And that's what we need to start kids off really focusing on the important meaning of the Christmas season.
well, I just really appreciate your being our guest. It's an honor to have an author who is so prolific with us and someone who really understands so much about what we're trying to promote here on Heritage of Truth TV. So thank you so much for coming. It's
Thank you.
wonderful having you.
Thank you. And Merry Christmas.
Thank
Happy
you.
Jesus' birthday.
Yes, thank you very much. Same to you.